Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chasing a Murder. Before we get started, would you please subscribe, like, and make sure that you share this video if you like it. We're on part 168 of Life Beyond the Grave. We're covering the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell story, Doomsday Serial Killers. Timeline is September of 2019. We're moving into September 19th, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Chad Daybell is using his priesthood powers in order to control several people in his group. They've created this path that he claims is of Jesus Christ's will. Each person within this group plays an important part in the mission or missions. It's made known to them that they are important and that their plans cannot succeed unless they fulfill this role and follow this path. And they're controlling these people with a reward or access to God in His glory. Chad Daybell has plans to build this light city around his property. We have learned that. How are they able to afford this? Well, it's quite easy when you're using this narrative that people are zombies. They must die. They use these ranking in order to influence or meet requirements. This gives Lori access to donations and insurance funds. Chad thought he was good at manipulating until he met Lori. Lori's manipulating skills have become the most powerful to draw money into the bank. You got to remember, it's around this time Lori Vallow is completely broke. Chad Daybell, who has never been really well off, is really starting to struggle with money, and Tammy has backed that up. We've learned that Chad is kind of mimicking the story called Melchizedek. We got to remember in that story, Abraham tied 10% of all his won funds to Melchizedek. In this war against, well, it's dark versus light. Also, you had Salem, which represented Zion. Now, Lori and Chad seem to have these huge ideas to build these huge structures on these properties. And Lori is very impatient, so she's wanting to get this started and going. But, she needs financial support. I'm telling you, if she had not been caught, you would have seen a big compound built in that area. I truly believe that. And right now, what she needs is money and support for her erratic behaviors, her obsessive compulsion behaviors. So they need support and followers. But right now, some of the witnesses of this case later testified that prophecies and prophesized dates are wrong. They fail. They've not been right. Things like Charles and JJ, they were supposed to die in a car wreck. That was a fail. That was also most likely an attempt of somehow that we missed to take their lives. We have heard that JJ was not a zombie until later, yet Lori has these predictions for his death. Chad's exaltation to priesthood is a dream come true. But at this point, it seems that Chad could care less about the apocalypse or end days. All that matters is being with his blonde lover. He's doing whatever it takes to keep her happy and do whatever she wants done. So his entire life's dream and fantasies, well, they're kind of on the hold right now. Remember, we learned about this story that Justin Lum wrote about Chad flying to Arizona on September 19th? Well, according to David Warwick and Melenie Gibb's testimony later, Chad Daybell isn't there but maybe a few hours or the most a day. Both David and Melanie claim that they saw Chad at Lori's townhome either on the 20th or a little bit after. Chad shows up for only a short time. And we're going to go in more details on this shortly, but according to David Warwick and Melanie, Chad Daybell was trying to teach him about the 144,000 and some of their plans in Rexburg. But really, is it Chad doing it? Because they later say that Lori's the one doing most of the talking, not Chad. Also, they find out, more information on Tammy and her soon event through Lori and not Chad. During Melanie Gibb's visit there, she says that she did have the opportunity to walk around the track with Chad and Lori at BYU. They didn't have any concerns that word would get back to Tammy. Here is a clip from that interview of Melanie Gibb describing that day.
So she moves up there, and from what I understand, she and Chad would walk around the track at BYU, Idaho, holding hands, maybe kissing, just displaying, looking like a married couple.
Well, she told me that they did walk around the track together. She didn't tell me what they did or didn't do, but I did have an opportunity to walk with them. And then we walked around and looked at the different pictures. I'd never been there before, so I saw the pictures that were in the gymnasium, behind it where they have these beautiful pictures. So we talked and we walked, and yeah, I was surprised. I'm like, aren't you worried that people are going to see you? And she says, well, Tammy doesn't come out a lot. She doesn't come over to this part a lot, so.
But they were openly affectionate.
Yeah, and they said a lot of people that knew Chad didn't know what Tammy looked like because they didn't do a lot of the things together.
Did Chad ever talk about Tammy possibly passing away?
I can't recall if he said it, but I know she did. He was very quiet most of the time. He let her do most of the talking.
How would you describe his personality at that time? Just reserved?
Reserved. Reserved.
So Lori Vallow was doing most of the talking, and Melanie Gibb mentioned that Chad just wasn't very confident. Lori and Chad were not scared to be intimate in public, even at BYU, where there was chances someone might know who he is. And remember, Tylee Ryan is supposed to be at this college. She's a student at BYU at Idaho. Melanie Gibb said when Lori told her that Tylee would be attending BYU, she said that didn't seem real to her.
Sometimes he came across not very confident.
Did you stay with Lori at that time when you went up to visit her?
Mm-hmm.
And were the kids there?
JJ was.
But Tylee was not.
Tylee was not.
Where was she?
I was told she was at BYU.
BYU in Provo?
Idaho.
BYU in Idaho. Would that have been a normal answer? Like a normal, okay, that makes sense type thing?
Well, I knew that Tylee had had her GED that she got when she was 16 or 17. I'm not sure exactly the age. And so it could have been plausible, but it didn't feel like it. There was definitely question marks. It was question marks for me. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel like the truth. I didn't know what to say about it. I wouldn't assume that she had done something to her. So it was kind of, I don't know. It was unusual.
But you didn't question her?
I didn't question it.
Was JJ with you on the walks?
No.
Where was he?
He was at home.
By himself?
His uncle was watching him.
Alex?
Yeah.
Okay. So JJ's home with Alex, but there's no sign of Tylee?
Correct.
And how long did you stay with Lori? Was it for a week?
So Thursday to a Monday morning.
I'm assuming Tylee never called her. She never called Tylee.
She didn't even talk about her.
Never spoke about Tylee. Did she speak at all about JJ?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he was all around us, and we were talking about him quite a bit, actually.
JJ was considered a zombie, she said, right before she arrived, but a lot of people believe that is not probably true, that JJ had been a zombie from the beginning.
What did she say?
As I arrived on the Thursday, she had said that he had turned into a zombie the day before I got there. And she was pointing out behaviors of his, like, look how he's doing this, that's unusual, or look how he's doing that. And she was trying to create uncertainty in me about what I saw his behavior. Like, what do you call that? Like a doubt. A doubt. And I was looking at him, and I thought, well, I don't know, he kind of looks like JJ to me. For an angry 1 minute and kind of chill, or crying the next minute. Like, that's how his behaviors always were around me. I don't know if they were always like that, but that's how I noticed him when I was around both of them. And she just gave me a few scenarios of different things he would say. That sounded a little unusual. I didn't hear him say it, but she would share things like he said this or he said that.
Had she talked about zombies before?
According to Lori, JJ was saying things like, "I love Satan." JJ was sitting still, watching TV. He's been using an increased vocabulary. Lori doesn't have the nanny come back over. It might be probably because the nanny sees these red flags. Perhaps JJ told her that he didn't want her to come back. It doesn't matter. Alex Cox watches JJ whenever Lori has errands. According to David Warwick, it seems like Alex Cox and JJ have a good relationship. Meanwhile, Lori's becoming more frustrated with JJ's being there. This whole entire weekend that Melenie Gibb's been there, she has listened to Lori complain about JJ being a zombie, his behavior. And we don't know why, but there comes a point to where Melenie Gibb suggests, maybe you should send JJ to Kay's. And it sounds like when you hear Melenie Gibb talk about this, that she is concerned for JJ and his safety. And where is the best place for JJ to be? We wonder, has it clicked to Melenie Gibb's head of what a zombie means? Now, what's the future look like for JJ now that he's a zombie? Nate Eaton asked her that question in an interview. Here we go.
Look what happened when Charles became a zombie. Something might happen to him?
I didn't think she would do that because that's her boy, We had actually a talking about this. She goes, well, I need to, it's time for JJ to, I don't know how she worded it, but it was something to the effect, it's time for, he's in the way of our mission, so we need to send him to Kay's house. That was kind of like the idea, is what can we do? And so we talked about Kay, and we talked about some of her family members that could actually take him on. And so we talked about, what that conversation would be like with Kay, and she wasn't sure if Kay would really receive him. And so we talked about just different ideas about, him going there. And so that was the plan that I knew of, is he's going to Kay's house. She told me that. I know that from what I saw in one of the video clippings, that she also told a neighbor that as well. And so that's what I believe was going to happen to him. So I left thinking that that's where he was going, as Kay's, for sure. I didn't doubt that.
Did anyone else find it odd how she said, yeah, I seen where someone else mentioned that as well, so that sounds right? She at least said that Lori mentioned how JJ was in the way of her mission. The motive couldn't be more clear than these children were in her way, period. Melenie Gibb admitted to Nate Eaton that this was a plan that they both, come up with together. That doesn't make sense. And this is where things come down and kind of crash around Melenie Gibb, because the main reason that Lori's doing what she's doing is to keep JJ safe away from Kay. According to Melenie Gibb, she said that Lori would come up with a story that she had cancer, and that's why she needed her to take JJ. And Lori knows that Kay would take JJ. So why is it that she doesn't send her? Well, if her send JJ to Kay, well, she would lose money. She also knows how much Kay wants JJ. The last thing she wants to do is to appease Kay. So why did Lori say this? Most likely it was an alibi type false motive in case anyone asked questions. Something else that stood out was the fact that JJ was really acting out that weekend. And there was a time that Chad was there when that happened. And according to Melanie, Chad had taken JJ upstairs. They didn't see him for a bit. And then he come back down the stairs. and they noticed that Chad had these red marks on his neck. All I could think about is what the heck were they putting this child through? Whatever he was experiencing, it must have been awfully scary. At the same time, JJ's getting all of this mixed emotion and loving support while being tortured. Okay, now let's listen a little bit to David Warwick's account of that weekend.
Understanding of the layout.
It was, when we walked in, there was a living room and a kitchen, just one room, and then the stairs on the right that went up to the bedrooms and bathrooms.
And when you arrived, who do you recall being at her apartment?
Lori and Alex and Melanie.
What about children? Were there children there?
JJ.
Did you have any occasion to interact with JJ when you arrived there?
Yes, I tried a couple of times. He was sitting on the couch playing games, and so I tried to just get to know him a little bit, but he was pretty into his game.
Did he respond to you then, or
no?
Did you have any further interaction with JJ at that point?
Just one more time. He was he had a box, and he was cutting windows and doors in it, making a little toy house out of a cardboard box.
Did you try to talk to him on that occasion?
I did.
Any interaction with him then?
No.
I think you already mentioned Chad was at this meeting or gathering.
He showed up at least 2 or 3 times. He was kind of in and out.
Do you recall what span of time were you staying at Lori's apartment on this occasion?
Friday night through Monday morning.
So roughly 3 days?
Yes.
So when you said that Chad was in and out, approximately how many times was Chad coming over that you recall?
I can recall twice for sure. It may have been a third time, but
when he came, how long would he stay?
Maybe a half hour to an hour. It was never long.
Did you have any conversations with Chad while he was there?
Yes, I did.
And Judge, could I have some found
Saturday?
So when Chad came over, explain to the jury what, if any, conversation that you had with him at that time.
Talked about that's what I learned about more of their relationship.
What did you learn?
That they had been together in past lives, and that they had a mission to do together.
Did they explain at that time what that mission was together?
Yes.
What was it?
To gather the 144,000.
Did they discuss any more about their personal religious beliefs along that vein?
They just talked about terrestrial buildings are on this earth that they can see. And
what did you understand that to mean? Did you say terrestrial or terrestrial?
Yeah, terrestrial. Just what it says.
Did they explain what they thought that meant?
They just said we want you to come over and we'll show it to you. So anyway, it's
come over where?
It was at some park next to a church.
So did you leave the apartment and go with them?
Well, we didn't go. We just went over there and met with them there.
We'll pause there because they're jumping ahead a little bit. What are they talking about these terrestrial buildings? Well, they believe that they could see these temples or churches. Again, their storyline kind of follows along some of the Dead Sea Scrolls. As David testified, he would say, I felt it wasn't there, instead of saying, no, I didn't see it. He was trying to show everybody his gift and his authority, that if he doesn't feel it or see it, then it's probably not true. So this is some of the, surrounding properties around Chad Daybell's property. And so they're making plans for David Orwick and Melenie Gibb to go look at this property and see if they can see these invisible temples. According to court documents, JJ's last confirmed day at school would be Friday, September 20th of 2019. Lori's number one concern for this weekend is that evil spirit inside JJ.
Did she indicate whether or not she'd made any observations regarding the behaviors of JJ?
She did.
And what did she tell you?
She would tell me his behavior was more difficult, and she would tell me his speech was more intelligent, and she would tell me he would say things like, "I love Satan." She told me he would, climb up on the refrigerator and go up top of the cabinets, and he was acting just more aggressive, more. She just tried to explain how she believed he was changing in more of a negative type of a demeanor, I guess.
As you know, Melanie and Zulema made a deal with prosecutors. But to me, they didn't fulfill that deal. They excluded as much as they could. They didn't share enough. You got to remember, there's a lot missing that these people are not sharing, and how they got away with it, I don't understand why prosecutors didn't make them share, those details that they knew. But anyway, she shares what they noticed about Charles when he became a zombie.
I just not remembering all the details, but she would say some things about their behaviors. She would share, like maybe they would just talk to her differently.
By the way, no one observed JJ climbing the cabinets, getting on top of the refrigerator, knocking over a picture of Jesus. But are you shocked on how these witnesses, how they even get through to the jury holding back like they did? We know that they've talked about this story a billion times to friends and whoever. They've even been recorded. It's the same thing that they were doing with Chad and Lori with these teachings. They were being secretive, conniving, misleading, secret. Many people wonder if they learned their lesson. This is 4 and 5 years later, you're hearing them testify. No, they continue to be sneaky and deceiving. Still bad examples to be, worshipers of Jesus, because he wouldn't tolerate that. Jesus didn't hide. He wasn't sneaky. He wasn't deceiving. A lot of people have questions of how much did Lori know about Chad before she met him, and even, not too far after he met him. And we're finding out that Lori didn't read many of Chad's books. Not really. So if his books aren't of interest to her, then what drew her to him? We have quite a few people that are watching this video regularly, but according to the stats of this video, we have about 20% that are not subscribed. So check and see if you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that button, hit the like button, share the video, and don't forget to comment your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And I love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.